Hello and welcome to a gameplay for all seasons. On our last Hogwarts Legacy video, we discussed the concerns that I currently have, or some of the concerns I currently have around the game, things that I'd like to have a bit more information about to hopefully put my mind at rest about those things. And in that video, I mentioned there is a lot of really fantastic, good things to look forward to in this game. And that is what this video is about. I've got 12 items that I think are some of the best things that we know about the game and what I'm most looking forward to. And that is what I'm going to be going through. Do let me know what you're most looking forward to. Maybe it's one of the same items as I'm going to be discussing here. Maybe it's not. Let me know in the comments. And also don't forget to subscribe. We talk about stuff like this all the time. And no doubt we can do some really interesting stuff when we finally get our hands on the game, which shouldn't now hopefully be too far away. So let's get straight into this then. The first item I want to discuss is we've got some really interesting areas which are going to be included in this game. Areas we've not really been to before. Now, in prior videos, two places I really wanted to visit in this game is firstly the kitchens. Now, the reason I wanted to visit there is because the Great Hall is such an iconic part of Hogwarts Castle, and the food obviously magically appears on all tables. However, you can't just make food using a wand. It doesn't come out of thin air. They are merely transporting it from one place to another, and it's the place they're transporting it from that I've always wanted to see. Is where the elves are making the food, and it just sounds like a really interesting place. The second place I said I really wanted to go, and I can't really put my fingers on why. Maybe it's all the taps, to be in the prefect's bathroom. Really interesting place. It just feels very novel and different, perhaps, to some of the rest of Hogwarts. And that's another place that we know we'd definitely be going. So we know this game's going to be getting exploring. These are just some of the first places we know of, but they really are something to look forward to. Now, talking about visiting places, something that we know is the common rooms look amazing. I can't wait to go to all four of them. It's going to be interesting to see how they do that. Is it going to be literally the case that we have to have a playthrough on each house to actually go to the common room? Is it the fact that actually we're going to have the ability to go into them, much like Harry did in the books, which is probably the way they'll do it? But we don't know that yet. What we do know is they all look really interesting. And I definitely want to go to more. I mean, we've got Gryffindor and Slytherin. They're just so iconic after what happens in the books there, particularly Gryffindor. The Ravenclaw, I really want to look at the view out of Ravenclaw. We know it's the highest of all the common rooms. I hope they put that in there because it's supposed to have a good view. I want to experience that. And then for me, Hufflepuff, maybe it's because it's the one that didn't feature in the books and it's got a bit more mystery about it for that reason. But I can't wait to visit that. And to me is the one I'm most excited about. And the next item then, and I mentioned this in the concerns because I have a slight concern about it, but there is a lot of good from it as well, which is we know we can go down a dark path. I would like to find out more what that means. But what's really good about it is we know it doesn't just mean that there's a one-dimensional path. All you can be is good, win the day. There is some alternative to that. What that's going to be, I really want to know. And I'm hopeful there is more than one dark path as well. And there's more than one good path and there's paths in the middle. Talked about that a lot. But the fact that option's been confirmed does make it sound like we're going to have a lot of rope to do what we want to do in this game. Next up is the Room of Requirement. It's one of those rooms that before we knew too much about the game and exactly what was going to be included, people saying, I really hope the Room of Requirement's going to be in it. Now we know the Room of Requirement absolutely is going to be in it and it's going to play a real key part. It's effectively your base. You're going to be brewing things there, growing things there. You're going to be tending to animals there. It just looks really interesting. I can't wait to get to the Room Requirement and find out what we can do. It slightly feels like with the whole thing where you can put your own buildings in some way in the Room Requirement, it's going to be a bit like Newt Scamander's briefcase in some way. I'd like to have more details about that, but whatever, it looks interesting. Obviously going to make it feel your own. And I think it's a really nice use of the Room of Requirement. Now on the next item, we've known for a while that there was going to be new faces in the game and there are going to be people we're familiar with. Or beings is perhaps the right word. Now a video I had a long time ago was about saying that I think Professor Binns will be in the game. He is in the game, that's confirmed. He is in the trailer. I'm very pleased about that, not because I'm a huge Professor Binns fan, but I'm pleased about that because it has that linkage to what we know before, and I think that's quite nice to be different, to be new, but have those little pieces to hark back. I'm really pleased they've included Peeves because obviously he was born out of the consciousness and mischievousness of all of the people who went to Hogwarts and effectively come with the castle. So he's not even really a proper ghost, but he was left out of the films. So you lost that slight element. Again, not a huge Peeves fan, but I think it's nice he's been included in the game. We know nearly Headless Nick is as well, as there'll be the other ghosts, I'm sure. I also still suspect there will be other characters that we don't yet know about that we will be familiar with. And again, I think that's good. I'm really looking forward to trying to meet those. And there'll probably be Easter eggs in there as well. Characters that may be on the fringes of what else we know, but they appear in this game. So staying on people then, and not the old people or people we're already familiar with, but now we're talking about the new companions that we have on our adventure. So here we're talking about Natsai, Poppy and Sebastian. They are the three we know about at the moment. Obviously, that leaves out Ravenclaw, so there'll be a Ravenclaw one. I'm sure there will be others as well, rather than just one per house. But what's really interesting about it is it feels like we're going to have some optionality around them, which I hope is the case. So perhaps we can befriend them and perhaps we don't have to get so close. That might not be the case, but what we do know about it is they are going to have an interesting character arc. You can kind of already see that, particularly as they show quite a lot about Sebastian, with the whole he's searching for a cure to the curse, as we see in the trailer. They obviously went more on about Sebastian than the others. I think they're going to be really interesting to meet. And again, I have some slight concerns about this. It's in my other videos, so you can go to that one if you're interested to see what those are. But as a whole, the fact we've got these, the fact we can hopefully pick which ones go on summer adventures, I'm sure that certain missions you'll have to take certain people, but if you can pick who you take with you, I think that'll be quite fun, and again give you that whole sense that this is your adventure and you can do it in your way. Now, on doing it your own way, what we also know is that you are able to customize your character. Now, the full extent and how much you can customize them, we don't yet know. It looks like relatively extensively to me, and I think that's quite good. You know, you pick other games like Horizon, which is absolutely fantastic, brilliant game. You have Aloy, that's the character you are. She is a brilliant character. I really enjoy the game. But with Hogwarts Legacy, to me, it's a different sort of game. You are fulfilling that dream of actually going to Hogwarts Legacy. So I think it's nice to actually customize your character to what you want to be to do that. It's a different type of game. And I think the fact you can do that with appearance and various things, I think is really good and really suits the game. And also for a game which I'm hoping there's going to be a lot of replayability about, it'll be nice to maybe go in with some very different characters. So the next thing we know about the game is some of the subject matter around the game, some of the storyline. And we know we are going to be experiencing a Goblin Rebellion. Now, the reason the Goblin Rebellions is interesting to me, and the fact I'm pleased this be included in the game, is because Goblin Rebellions really are an important part of the Wizarding world. And, you know, they come up all over the place in the books when you read those, even down to the exam questions that Harry and Ron had. We had Ron correctly guessing the name of a goblin who was part of a rebellion. And Harry, you may remember, skipped the question when they were asking about, is the suppression on the goblins not letting them have wands what may have led to some of the Goblin Rebellions? So I think actually experiencing something that's so foundational and mentioned so many times within the Wizarding world, and as I say in the Harry Potter time, I think that's a really good subject matter. Now, I've got lots of questions around the next item, but I suspect no matter what, it's going to be good, which is the combat. It's going to be really interesting to see how that works. Are you going to assign a certain spell to a certain button on your controller? Is it going to be a certain combination that does something different? Or is it going to be something entirely different? No matter what, when you watch the trailer and you see that they're flicking from one spell to another and there's so much focus and quite a large part of the trailer is put to combat, I strongly suspect that the combat and how varied it is and the fact it's actually going to be quite customizable is again something I'm very much looking forward to trying. But I am really hoping we get a little bit more information about how it actually works before the game comes out. So the next item is the fact that we do have Broomflight. Now, this does sound like, per the trailer, that is an optional part of the game. And I say optional because it makes it sound like you have to go to lessons to do this. The fact that you could somehow not go to those lessons and not learn how to fly a broom sounds a bit peculiar to me, but that is what I gather from the trailer. But when you have mastered it, and you are going to be able to use that as a good way to travel. In the trailer, it says that is one of the best ways to travel. And again, to me, feels very Wizarding World. And it's an extra mechanic that they could have perhaps not put into the game. But we've got it there. So that is definitely something to look forward to. So the next one's a little bit different. It's not actually part of the game per se. But what we do know is if you are going to be playing on the PS5, depending which house you pick, you are going to be having lighting colour on your controller of that house. Now, I'm not sure what your view on that is. Maybe you're really excited about that. Maybe you think it doesn't really matter. But personally, I am excited about that. And the reason for that is twofold. Firstly, we know that people who go to Hogwarts seem very attached and very proud of their house. And I think it's quite nice, whichever house you pick. You can look down your controller. If you're Hufflepuff, you're going to get yellow. If you're Slytherin, you're going to get green and so on. I just think that's a nice touch. I think it's nice to look down that you are the house that you've picked. It's just a nice little touch. And that's the second reason, really. It is that little bit extra. It's not something that had to be in the game. I always like it when they put these little things that you'd say they're perhaps unnecessary, but it's just going to enhance your experience of the game. They're these little touches. That's what I like to see in a game. And that's a good sign to me that hopefully there'll be lots of these touches in the game. And that's what elevates games right to that best level, in my opinion. Maybe to you, I've missed something really obvious. Let me know if I have, or if you agree and disagree with me. Like this video if you think others might enjoy it, and I'll see you on the next video.